Hello, beautiful souls. I am coming to you from my car again. So if you hear me pausing or you hear some noise in the background, that's what's going on. And I'm on my way to work, and I got a download about taking accountability. Excuse me, a big part of the healing journey for me has been learning how to take accountability. And the reason I say learning and not just taking accountability is it's my belief that in the society that we've created, we've made it very difficult for people to take proper accountability. This starts from the time we are very young, depending on the type of family environment you grew up in and your parents' influences and how they raised you. Taking accountability can be rough because we associate fear with taking accountability. Fear that we're going to get in trouble, we're going to get disciplined, which is fair. That's fair to feel that fear. But then when we get into school, then it's the fear of embarrassment and judgment. Because if we make a mistake in class, not only might our classmates make fun of us, but our teacher's going to reprimand us in front of everybody. So from the very young age, we've made this very important, crucial part of being a human being. We've made it very hard to learn how to do it properly. And so what that ends up happening is as we go into adulthood, we have learned to not take accountability or not take full accountability or just straight out lie about things. And it's again out of fear of I apologize. Out of fear of judgment, out of fear of reprimand, out of fear of discipline, out of fear of ridicule. It's all based around fear. But taking accountability it shouldn't be, and it's not meant to be something that's born out of fear. Taking accountability is meant to be a tool in the toolbox of the healing journey because it helps you learn from your mistakes. It helps you to take ownership of your own thoughts and actions so that you can adjust and get in proper alignment. So I really hope that by listening to this, that the seeds that I am planting are that when you know that there's something you need to take accountability for, that you can go within. And let me preface this by saying, just saying sorry is not enough. That's lip service in most cases. Most people will say sorry because they just want to pacify the person that they owe some kind of apology to. But they're not truly sorry within because they've not really reflected and they've not taken that inner accountability. Taking accountability means you are taking ownership of what you've done. And we need to take the guilt and shame out of that because we are human beings. And as human beings, we are flawed. Even though we have a soul that is perfect and whole and divine, and that is the part of us that the unconditional love flows from. The rest of us that we're experiencing in this human reality is flawed. We have ego. We have doubts and worries and fears and anger and resentment. We have all these emotions that we feel from being a human. And because of that, we are going to make mistakes. You know, Christians will call it sin. I don't like putting the negative connotation on there because it's just a part of being a human being. It's not the fact that we sin that's the problem. It's the fact that we have, as a society, we have made it so shameful and put so much guilt onto people when they do sin that now they don't want to take accountability. They don't want to change because of what we've done to that, the way we've made it seem like it's a horrible thing if you make a mistake, if you sin. So, and I'm sorry if I seem a little all over the place, because I am trying to get this message out while I'm driving. So my priority is making sure I'm being safe while I drive. So the thing is that we need to really take away the shame and guilt from taking accountability. And on a personal level, what worked for me in learning how to take accountability is going within and reflecting on what it was that I needed to take accountability for. And learning to have compassion and empathy with myself, because we think and take actions based on where we're at in our soul's journey, in our healing journey, in our growth journey. So if you're making a lot of mistakes, it's because you're in a season of life where your soul is trying to push you to grow. And depending on how you are interacting with yourself, with your thoughts and your emotions at that time, is going to dictate whether you're going to learn from those experiences. So having self-compassion and patience and understanding with yourself is most important and crucial in this journey. Because when we're taking accountability, it's hard, it's painful, it's stressful, it's frustrating, because we're having to admit something about ourselves that doesn't feel comfortable. And then in many cases, we're having to follow that up with an action of repentance with people that we might have harmed or hurt or, whatnot. So none of that feels comfortable. So in that process, we need to have that compassion with ourselves. And so for myself, I'll just use a personal example. Like when I've made mistakes with my children, because I am in a journey of, I've had to reparent myself. I've had to, and I'm not done with this process, but I'm learning how to become a better parent through reparenting myself in my own healing journey. And so in that process, there has been many, many times where I have had to take accountability for my not so great parenting, and I've needed to bring that forth to my children with an apology and a promise to do better going forward. And so that's not always an easy thing to do, to admit that the way you've been doing things has not been the best way. And I've made a lot of missteps because of my own upbringing and the examples I had as a child of what parenting is. And I grew up in a broken family, and I grew up with a father who was absent, and he would say he wasn't, but he was an every other weekend dad who was not emotionally available, and a mom who was severely depressed and made a lot of bad choices when it came to men. And so I did not have a very good example of healthy relationships and healthy parenting growing up. So it's not really a shocker that I grew up struggling on how to be a good parent. But it's never too late to take that accountability and say, you know what, in this process of healing, I was able to reflect and say, hey, the reason why I've struggled with being a parent is because I didn't have a great example. And that's not to blame my parents. It's just acknowledging where the root of the issue was coming from. Now, I can't change my parents. One of my parents has passed away many years ago. My other parent is still alive, and that relationship is healing over time. But what I do have power and control over is myself and my own healing journey. And so by reflecting first and going into the past and acknowledging the root of where my issues came from, that was able to take some of that responsibility off my shoulders, so I can understand, like, oh, it's not because I'm a bad person, it's because I didn't have great examples. Now that I have that information and knowledge, what can I do to make changes? Now, this process is a process of action. And so many people can get to the acknowledgement phase, but they're not ready to take action to fix it. And that's okay. The healing journey is it's not a really concise journey, because it's different for everyone. You will take action to change things in your life when you are ready. Some people, it takes them going through many karmic cycles of pain and frustration and all these things before they finally have had enough and they're ready to make those changes. And so there's no judgment. And so the second part of this is taking away the judgment of your journey and understanding that it takes a lot of effort and a lot of determination and a lot of persistence to make changes. And sometimes you're not spiritually and emotionally ready to do that yet, because there's other things going on. And so I came to this acknowledgement of needing to work on my parental journey a few years ago, and I started, but I didn't really put the gas pedal down until I hit a point of realizing, wow, if I don't make some changes very soon here, there's going to be lasting repercussions in my family. And what I really wanted for my family was to experience healing and restoration with my children. So at that point, I finally had enough of my own bullshit and said, okay, I'm ready to really start making these changes. And what's one way I can do that? Okay, I prayed about it, and I said, God, I know I'm ready to do better, but I'm not sure what I need to do. Can you please guide me? And with that, the opportunity for a parenting class popped up. And when I read about this parenting class and the methods that they teach, I realized this was something new that I'd never heard of, and I could probably benefit from it. And so I've been taking a parenting class. So in taking accountability, I've gotten rid of the guilt and the shame, and now it's just, hey, I acknowledge that the reason I am struggling with this is because XYZ. Now I'm ready to make positive changes. I'm praying about it. And if you're not Christian, you can just, put it out to the universe. Okay, universe, I acknowledge that I need to make some changes. Please provide a solution. And then the universe or God is going to present you with some ideas on what you can do to make those positive changes. And then the last step of that, taking accountability, is following through with what's presented to you. Well, it's not really the last step, because then there's the application part, right? So it might be, if it's taking accountability for wronging someone, this is where you're going to have to swallow your pride a little bit, and you're going to have to approach the person that you've wronged and let them know that you're sorry about what you've done. And I've talked about, well, it's probably a long time on my old channel, but I've talked about giving a proper apology, because apologies, anyone can say sorry and not mean it. And this is why this process is so important, because you could put yourself, flip the script and say, would you want someone coming to you and just saying sorry but not really meaning it, just to hear the apology? No, you want, if someone's going to apologize to you, you want to know that they truly mean it. And so you want to see a behavior change. You want to see them taking that accountability and making changes. So don't apologize until you're ready. And sometimes that's hard to do. Sometimes people want to demand an apology out of you. That's happened to me in the past. And I simply told the people, I said, look, I want to. There's a part of me that really wants to apologize, but I know I'm not sorry yet. And that sounds terrible and mean, but if I give you an apology now, it's not going to be sincere. I still need time to process. I still need time to heal and grow and mature and take that accountability. And the nice thing is once you've done this process and you give that apology, whether the person accepts the apology or not, whether the person is ready to forgive you or not, that's on them. That's not on you. Because by taking accountability and asking for forgiveness, you are releasing out of your energy, that situation. You're saying, okay, I have transmuted this energy. I have taken this mistake. I have learned from it. I've grown from it. I know now that this is not something I will likely do going forward in the future. You can't promise that for sure, but you can say that I've learned and grown and I'm not likely to do this again. I am truly regretful and remorseful for what I've done because I understand the pain and the hurt that I've caused, and I know I wouldn't want that done to me. So these are all parts of that taking accountability process. And the great thing about this, and this is the icing on the cake, the whole gift of taking accountability, is the peace that you receive from that. Because oftentimes when there is something that we know we need to take accountability for, but we are choosing not to out of that fear, whether it be the fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of shame and guilt, we carry that energy with us, and it's heavy. And it will sit in our heart, and it will create heart blockages. It will make it very difficult for us to connect with people. We will tend to do the same thing in other situations. It'll become a pattern in our life of being afraid to take accountability. And so it can be very cumbersome. It can be very troublesome. So why do that to yourself when you can learn the healthy way of taking accountability and experience a peace in your heart, mind, and spirit of knowing that you have now properly and fairly handled that situation, and you can release it now and let it go, which means you never have to dwell on it ever again. You have totally and completely and properly handled that situation by taking accountability. So I really hope that this message makes sense. I know it's a little bit all over the place. As a society, we really need to start teaching and modeling how to take proper accountability by taking away the shame and guilt and remembering that we are all human beings. We're all doing our best from the place that we are in life and our journey, and it's never too late to do the right thing. It's never too late to love yourself by having compassion and empathy with yourself and forgiveness with yourself, so that you can release these things. Oftentimes it's things from our past that have been holding us back or holding us down or keeping us in unhealthy, toxic patterns. It's never too late to change that by making a decision to do what you know is right for yourself and for others involved. So I hope this message has been a blessing. I thank you so much. I'm almost to work, so I'm going to let you go. I hope you guys have a wonderful, blessed day. Namaste.